Hello everyone, this is Bill Stevens. I'm the News Director, Public Affairs Director at WSON AM and FM here in Henderson, Kentucky, and I'm so happy to be a part of this reading challenge that's been going on all winter, and now we continue on into spring break because reading has always been such a big part of my life. I grew up kind of in a situation where we didn't have a lot of money, we didn't go a lot of places, but I traveled the world and I met so many interesting people just through books. So growing up, we used to go to a lot of garage sales and flea markets, and I would always go directly to where the used books were, and that's where I found a lot of Edgar Rice Burroughs, and that's where I developed a great love of science fiction. And so reading has always been, for me, a great outlet, a way to learn new things and again go to different places, maybe even different planets. And so we're going to share some of that now as we are going to read a little bit of one of my favorites, and it's based on Star Wars, the most recent movie, and we're going to hear about Poe and the Missing Ship. And I hope you enjoy this. It's a really great book, and of course comes from a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Poe Dameron rocketed through space in his X-Wing fighter. Poe was commander for the New Republic Navy, and he spent his days patrolling the Outer Rim with a small team of pilots and, of course, his faithful droid, BB-8. But this was no ordinary day. Something unusual had popped up on Poe's scanner. It was a distress signal from a ship called the Usiri Zaidi. BB-8 sent the information to Poe's fellow pilots, and the three X-Wings jumped into light speed. They needed to reach the ship and fast. When Poe's squadron came out of light speed, they were shocked to see a fleet of First Order TIE fighters buzzing around the helpless ship. The First Order was an evil shadow of the Galactic Empire that was slowly rising to power, but it seemed to be more dangerous than anyone realized. Some of the TIE fighters streaked towards Poe's squadron and opened fire, but Poe and his fellow pilots were ready for them. The three X-Wings dipped and weaved among the First Order ships, expertly avoiding the enemy fire, taking down TIE fighter after TIE. But before Poe's team could reach the stricken ship, a glow began to rise from its stern. In the blink of an eye, the freighter and the First Order ships had stretched and snapped into hyperspace. Now, when the squadron returned to its base, Poe urged his superiors to do something to help that freighter, but everyone he spoke with ordered him not to interfere. They didn't believe that the First Order was as dangerous as Poe claimed. Poe knew better, and he said he knew he would get into trouble if he disobeyed his orders. He also knew the crew of that ship was in real danger. He needed to help them, especially if no one else was going to. BB-8 honed in on where the First Order had taken the missing ship, and Poe's X-Wing made the jump to light speed. The little droid also discovered the stolen ship had been carrying powerful weapons at the time of the attack. Poe wasn't surprised that the First Order wanted those weapons, but he needed to find out where it was taking them. BB-8 shrieked when they came out of light speed. Before them floated almost the entire First Order fleet, Star Destroyers, frigates, cruisers, and even more TIE fighters. But the Usiri was nowhere in sight. The one thing Poe and BB-8 had gotten for them was the element of surprise. Not the surprise of an X-Wing's appearance in the middle of the First Order fleet, but rather the surprise of what they did next. Poe and BB-8 charged. Poe pushed his X-Wing fighter to its limits. He banked right, looped left, while blasting at every First Order ship that stood in his way. Meanwhile, BB-8 continued to search for a signal from the missing ship, but the First Order was closing in. Poe flew so close to one of the First Order frigates he could actually see stormtroopers staring at him through the portholes as he raced by. The TIE fighters stopped shooting at him because they didn't want to hit one of their own ships. Suddenly, BB-8 beeped wildly. He had located the missing ship. It was inside one of the Star Destroyers. Poe had to tell his superiors as soon as possible. As more of the TIEs closed in, Poe punched the controls and they rocketed to light speed, leaving the First Order behind. Poe returned to the base, happy that he had discovered the location of the missing ship, but a military officer and 2 guards were waiting for him. Poe knew he was in trouble. The officer introduced himself as Major Ermat and ushered Poe and BB-8 to a waiting speeder. They traveled to a different part of the base, where Ermat led Poe to a standalone bunker. Poe entered alone and immediately recognized the woman sitting at the desk in front of him. It was General Leia Organa. Leia had been a princess and had helped her brother, Jedi Knight Luke Skywalker, destroy the evil Empire. But the First Order had risen from the ashes of the Empire, and now Leia needed Poe's help. Leia asked Poe to tell her about the First Order and the missing ship. The general listened very carefully as Poe recounted his entire adventure. When he was finished, Leia promised to do everything she could to help rescue the crew. Then she asked Poe if he had ever heard of the Resistance. That was the day everything changed for Poe Dameron. Poe and his squadron agreed to join General Organa and become part of the resistance against the First Order. Poe had been a pilot, but now he would have a chance to be a hero. The end.
You have failed me for the last time.
And part of the reading challenge for the Henderson County Schools, which continues through spring break. And so I want you folks to go out and find the books that you love to read. Read those books, take your picture wherever you are reading, and then post those on social media at the hashtag HCSReads. And do that right now. You can possibly win a prize. And this again will continue through spring break. It's been my pleasure to be with you. And as always, may the Force be with you.